Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I'm Derek Master.
This is Scream Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over the horror news, and we have premieres of our own movies to talk about. Right? It's true. As of this recording, last weekend, we premiered the new short, Secret Admirer, which you can see behind me. And the premiere went great, right, guys?
It was awesome.
It was amazing.
We had a great turnout. On the channel, you'll see our Q&A is posted. There was a great Q&A afterwards. There was a bunch of great questions asked, including what we're working on next. And we gave a little hint about the next couple projects that are coming down the pike. And we just talked to the cast and crew. The cast was there. They were great. They had a great time. And all in all, it was a great night, right, guys?
Yes.
Yep, it couldn't have went any better. It was really fun.
What was your guys' favorite part of the premiere?
Finally getting to see the movie.
I guess that's true, yeah.
For me, I was just like, I gotta see this thing.
It was
Go ahead, Derek.
Go ahead. I was gonna say it was fun to hear the reaction, like watching it as part of the audience. That was a lot of fun. And yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I agree. That was my favorite part too, because the only people prior to the premiere that have seen it were me because I edited it, and Derek because he helped edit it, and he hadn't even seen the final version. And Lydia had only seen bits and pieces. Of course, she knew what happened. She worked on it, and she was there all 4 nights of filming, but she didn't know what the movie was going to be until that night. So were you impressed? Did you like it?
Oh, I was so impressed. I'm telling you, I had like the biggest smile on my face the entire time. And a couple of those scenes just took my breath away. They were so beautiful.
Well, appreciate that. That's great. You guys put a lot of hard work into it. So thank yourselves. Good work, guys. It's a team effort to get this thing done. It was 4 years in the making, and we finally got it out. So stay tuned on the channel for more updates on the general release of this, and where you can see it next and how you can see it. Also, we have a bunch of new stuff on the website that we just started selling. We have t-shirts, Secret Admirer t-shirts with the design that Lydia created right there behind me on the poster. So you'll have the Secret Admirer design. We have a Hookman shirt for one of the other shorts. We have a couple of Scream Bloody Movie shirts, which you guys all know what that logo looks like. You see it at the beginning of every episode. And also we will be taking poster orders. If anybody wants posters, put in an order for that. We will sign them and ship them to you. So all in all, it was a great night. We each got to talk to people, and they got to experience the movie for the first time too, and we got to get their feedback. So it was a great night. I'm really proud of you guys and of us for finally crossing the finish line with this one. Now, of course, it's on to the next one.
Yeah, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I was a little impressed with how not nervous I was in front of all those people. That's not my natural state of being. I don't talk in front of people. And so I felt pretty good. It went really well.
I think, you know what helped with that? I think this helped with that.
It probably did.
Yeah.
I think this helped with that because you just kind of pictured it as the Scream Bloody Movie audience out there. Just people we talk to every week. So, and the episodes are getting more and more views. Keep it growing, guys. You guys are doing a great job. We need some more comments and some more suggestions for new movies to watch. And that's our little state of the channel, state of the production company section of the podcast up at the top here. Just really exciting stuff coming along the way. I can't wait for the general audience to see the movie and to have a good time with it. It was so amazing to see it on that big screen, projected like I saw, Halloween, H2O when I was a kid, or the first time I saw Star Wars on the big screen. Just was this, oh, look, that's where I saw movies. Now here it is. So great times. Great. It was great. All of it was great. Also, while we're talking about the state of things, we will be in the near future doing an episode. Once the movie is generally released, we will do a making of episode where we will do a podcast where we talk about the movie, talk about everything that happened on it. We might even have a couple of special guests. I'll see, if anybody want to have a couple of special guests to come on and talk about their experiences making it as well. So stay tuned for that. All right, guys. Now that we got all of that out of the way, it's time to get into our favorite segment of Green Bloody Movies, and that is, of course, the horror news. So I've got a couple, not like a huge amount of horror news, but the stuff I have is pretty cool. Some of it, at least. So as you know, there's we talked about Renfield a lot on this podcast because we're really excited to see it. But did you guys know that's not the only Dracula movie coming out this year?
No.
So apparently Universal has a Dracula movie coming in the summer of 2023 called The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Ooh.
Oh, what?
Yes, so it is. It is the single chapter in the. It's based off of a single chapter in the book where the Demeter, the chartered cargo plane, chartered a. So here's what it says. The chapter tells the story of a Russian schooner, which was chartered to carry private cargo, 24 unmarked wooden crates, from Carpathia to London. The film will detail the strange events that befell the doomed crew as they attempt to survive the ocean voyage, stopped each night by a terrifying presence aboard the ship. When it finally arrived near Whitby Harbor, it was derelict. There was no trace of the crew. So basically, it's Dracula's trip from Carpathia to London. What do you guys think of this?
Very cool. Very cool.
Sounds pretty
that.
interesting.
I'm super excited about this. It sounds awesome. It stars Corey Hawkins as a doctor aboard the Demeter. Aisling Francoisa, I hope I didn't butcher that, as an unwitting stowaway. Liam Cunningham as the ship's captain. And David Dashmilchin as the first mate. We don't know who's playing Dracula, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, that sounds very promising. I'm really excited about that. What do you guys think?
That's really cool. Do you guys watched the Dracula, British Dracula on Netflix?
Yes.
British Dracula.
I have not.
Is that what it's called? I don't know.
Yes. It's called British Dracula on Netflix. I think it's just called Dracula, but yeah.
Yes. That makes me think of the episode, like the episode. It's been so long since I've seen it now, but I remember really liking the ship scenes a lot.
Yes, there is an episode where he is on a ship, and it's pretty interesting. I think this is going to be quite different in tone. That Dracula,
I hope it is.
I quite liked it up until the end. Like,
me too.
I quite liked the first bit. Is like the first episode's really cool. The boat one's really cool. Then it gets to modern times, and it's pretty cool. And then that last episode was just, I did not like that ending. I was like, what the hell is this?
Well,
yeah.
I have not seen any of it, so
Oh,
No
I'll
spoilers.
get to experience all that.
yeah. It's
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 pretty
not
fun.
bad. It's not bad.
It's a fun
just-
ride. It's a
Yeah.
fun ride.
I just
for
don't
sure.
really love. I don't really love where it goes.
Yeah.
You're on the same page, Leah?
Yeah, and it's got that just like BBC feel
Oh,
to it.
100%. Yeah, 100%
Like
that
real
BBC
heavy
feel.
BBC. Yeah.
The guy that plays
I've got
Dracula is
a-
great in it.
I'm into that. So it was fine for me. But some people, like a lot of Americans I know, aren't as into that vibe.
I like it too.
Since we're talking about boats, I've got a really interesting idea for a movie. So a couple of friends go surfing
Oh
and
no,
they
not
get
this
attacked
dream
by
you
a
had.
shark. And then the only way that they are going to survive is there's this random dumpster that is out in the middle of the water. So they jump in it, and then a shark jumps in it, and then turns into a vicious squirrel. That's an interesting idea for a movie. Trust me.
That's a dream Derek had that he shared with me earlier today.
Lydia's like, what are you talking about, Derek?
And it's
I was about to say this sounds like a dream that I've had.
oh, you've had it
I
too.
had this dream the other night.
This is a
Then I tried to
recurring
toss
thing.
that little squirrel out, and it came back and tried to bite me.
I thought
Yeah.
you were gonna say.
That sounds like something I would dream for sure.
I thought you were gonna say there was a group of people on a boat and they get attacked by malignant in the post-apocalypse.
I thought you were gonna say the shark is biting people and turning them into vampires because the shark got bit by Dracula
Vampire
on the
shark.
voyage.
There's an idea.
Yeah, you can call it.
Vampire shark. You nailed it.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Lydia. This could be a made-for sci-fi movie.
From the makers of Sharknado comes Vampire
Count.
Shark.
We'll call him Count Finn.
Count Finn. And you just have
We'll
two
work on
extra
that.
long teeth right here.
Yeah,
Two extra
yeah.
long teeth.
You could have a row of teeth and just have really extra long canines.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just two
Yeah.
extra long canines. And
He's
then
got, like, because they have rows of teeth, so he'll just have like
Mhm.
one row will have like two like sharp ones,
and he won't be able
like
to
back to back.
he won't cast a reflection in the water.
Oh my gosh!
And they just throw garlic at him and he runs away.
He swims
There you
away.
go.
Yeah, he swims away, and then how they kill him is they trick him into jumping out of the ocean, but it's daytime and he just explodes in the sun.
Or they could have like the scene from Jaws where he like comes out of the water and they. I think
They
that was
could
from
do
Jaws,
that.
right?
Yeah, it's from
Maybe
the
the-
terrible one. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Oh, the
Do a
revenge.
harpoon
Fine.
steak.
Because in that movie, the shark fucking explodes from getting stabbed.
Well, yeah, they all do that. You didn't know that?
Atrocious, atrocious. All right, guys.
All that on
next
Animal
horror bit.
Planet.
Next horror bit. Lou Ferrigno is going to play a cannibalistic pig farmer in a horror movie called The Hermit.
Oh no!
That's a sentence I just said.
Not
What?
Lou.
Is
What do
this
you guys
a
think of
is this a
this?
joke?
No. It says it's the first
That's the
English
funniest
language
thing I've
feature produced by and directed by Salvatore Sclafani. And yeah, that's the plot. He's a cannibalistic pig farmer who makes and sells jerky made of human flesh. What are you
Wow.
guys' thoughts on this? Are you guys ready for this one?
No.
I'm ready. Ready as I'll ever be to see that.
Yeah.
I am curious. I'm definitely curious.
It definitely piqued my interest. That's why I, shared it with you guys, because I was like, huh, okay.
Like,
This
what
is
if it's really
interesting.
good? You know,
Yeah, I mean, it might be.
sounds
Okay,
silly
guys.
when you just say it out loud.
I mean, there's
When
a
you put
chance
logic
that
to it,
you
it sounds terrible, but it's fine.
could poop out a gold nugget, but
You could.
just saying.
Do you guys remember the 90s movie Cube?
Yes, I love that movie.
So you remember Cube. So there, Lionsgate is seeking pitches for a new take on Cube.
I don't know how else you would do that movie.
I think
The first one was amazing.
Look, the problem with this franchise is I feel like you're boxed in for what you can do.
Oh,
Pun intended.
got him.
Lydia, have you seen Cubed? Or
No,
Cube?
I haven't.
Cube
But
is
I
good.
have heard of it. Now I just looked it up and I've
Mhm.
definitely seen this before, but I've never watched it.
Yeah, so that's a thing. Lionsgate's taking pictures for it.
Like the OG escape room.
Yeah, pretty much. They did a Japanese horror remake in 2021. So that's the thing that happened. So now I guess
you
they're
could
trying to...
call it Cubed Squared.
That's true. You could. Or you could call it, and the third one could be Cube. Or you could make Cube starring Ice Cube. Sells itself.
Whoever's taking the pitch meetings for these, they're going to watch this episode and be like, yep, we're not going with any of these ideas.
They're going to say,
Yeah,
these guys
they're gonna be
get
like,
it. These guys get it. They get the Cube. They're making outside the box jokes. They're talking about Ice Cube. They know exactly what's going on.
I would set it in space.
I would say, okay, so it's cube, but instead of a cube, it's a rhombus. So stupid. So stupid. That's for all my nerd friends out there. Looking out. Looking out. Okay. Next, guys, you know I got to do it. We went a whole week without one. It's time for a Monsters update.
It finally happened. It got canceled.
It's been canceled. It's been canceled.
I called
No,
it from the beginning.
Finally. No.
we have a new bit with a new character called Uncle Gilbert. You guys want to see Uncle Gilbert?
Can't wait.
Let's see him.
Here's Uncle Gilbert.
Ah. Okay.
Gil.
It's the
I
Gil
mean-
Man.
Oh, I get it.
What do you
We were
guys
just
think?
talking about this.
The
We
creature
were.
from the Black Lagoon.
Yes,
They're
We
pulling
were
all the
just
stops out.
talking about that.
we were.
He's like, why not? Why not throw
Why
him
not?
in there?
So, what are you guys thinking of these new updates? What do you think of Uncle Gil?
Oh my gosh.
It's
I
clever.
don't know what to think anymore about this movie.
When does this movie
Freaking
come
out,
out?
guys.
Still says sometime in 2022.
Oh my gosh. It's got to be around Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to
Are
be.
you guys more excited for it?
I wouldn't say more, but I will watch it because we have followed
We've
this
been
movie.
talking
too
about
close.
this for so long.
We followed it since its impetus.
I feel like if I
There
don't,
has to be other movies.
I'm just letting anybody who watches the show down.
Exactly. You
So.
see, here's the thing. I keep bringing it up because it's one of the running stories we've had for it's a season-long plot line
Since we
of
started.
season 2 of Screen Bloody Movies. It's one of the arcs of the season, so we have to follow it through.
Yeah. In the the trailer for this episode or this season, they're gonna be like, "Is Derek gonna like it or is he not gonna like it?"
Will Lydia care when it finally comes out?
Maybe.
Will Jamie tell another rhombus joke? Find out these questions and more.
On season 2 of Screen Bloody Movies.
Yeah.
The Wrath of Khan. And finally, guys, last but not least, this is just a nice little fun bit. Thought you guys might get an enjoyment out of that. James Wan was recently asked about a Malignant sequel.
Oh my gosh.
And-
Is that in a post-apocalyptic world?
He did not mention that. He said it was a good idea, so he didn't mention that.
He's saving it. That's gonna be like,
What he did say is that he definitely has ideas for he has ideas about the world. Like he knows the bigger picture of the world. He doesn't necessarily, he didn't make the movie with the intention of there's definitely going to be a sequel, but he made it with the knowing what the world and the bigger story is, so that way he could. And he said as long as if the fans want it, they just need to support it, and he'll be down to jump back into the Malignant pool. So we need to get on that train. We need to get on Twitter tonight and do hashtag Malignant sequel. Start it.
They should have Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie, and at some point and be like, "It's not a tumor."
That would be good. I would like it. I would like him and Gabriel to get into like a battle at one point, and then they get into a stalemate because he's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, yeah.
He's not going to lose. What? It'd be like any scene with Vin Diesel in a movie. He can't lose the fight, even if it's against The Rock, who's 2 feet taller than him and outweighs him. It's still. I was real close to beating you, but now we're family.
You're gonna upset a lot of group fans.
I did. I upset a portion of our audience. I apologize, but I only did it because we're family. All right, guys, let's talk about tonight's movie. So
let's just talk about the episode so far.
Let's talk about tonight's episode so far. We have talked about the premiere. We've made some bad jokes. There was a bonus one in there.
We brought up monsters again.
The monsters.
We've given a couple of good pitch ideas for movies.
Great pitches.
We're on it. We're on it tonight, guys.
You know what they say? Pitches get stitches.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody says that. Nobody says that.
All right. Let's just talk about the movie.
I'm on one tonight. I shouldn't have smoked that whole bag of weed.
It's probably that nitro that you're drinking.
It is. Pepsi Nitro. Makes you tell crazy jokes.
Uh-oh.
Tonight's episode is Tom Holland's adaptation. His 1996 adaptation of Stephen King's Thinner. Of course, written as Richard Bachman during the Bachman phase of his career. So, Lydia, you have never seen this movie before.
Okay, so I have seen parts of this movie.
Okay.
So I can't remember if I said this in the last episode, but I have put this movie on previously while doing household chores. Okay, so I wasn't really paying attention and it was just kind of on. And I think I've probably done that twice at least that it's been on. So I've seen some clips here and there. So I was, I'm familiar with how this movie kind of goes, but I realize now that I didn't pick up a lot of what this movie had to offer because there's a lot more to this movie than what I thought there was.
Derek, you have seen this movie, but it's been in the 90s, correct?
Yeah, I only saw this movie one time, and that was shortly after it came out on VHS, FYI. And yeah, I vaguely remembered some parts of it, but most of it I did not. So it was like watching it for the first time, knowing specific points of the plot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was kind of what my experience was this time. I'd seen this movie a couple times. I saw it when it came out in the 90s, and then I watched it, it was on TV a lot. On, I think, TNT and TBS. It was on those channels a lot. So I watched it, a few times there, hearing bits and pieces of it when it was on. And then a few years back, I watched it, but I haven't seen it in a long time. So this time was almost like a new viewing experience, like you said, Derek, with knowing basically knowing how it ends, knowing specific beats, but there's stuff in between that I forgot. So it was kind of like watching it almost for the first time. And there's some stuff that I want to get into and talk about with this movie. I don't know if we all feel the same about this one. We'll discuss it once we get into it. I don't think so either. But let's get into it. Where do you guys want to start? You want to start let's talk about Billy as a character, and specifically Billy's fat suit.
Okay.
So
I thought go ahead, Jim. Sorry. No, you go first.
Oh, I was going to say, what do you guys think of the fat suit?
No. I actually thought it was pretty decent.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously you could tell it was a fat suit. But well, it's not bad.
So I think go ahead, Lydia.
That's what I was gonna say. It's obvious, but it's done pretty well.
Yeah,
And
I
it gets
think
better. The smaller he gets, the easier the makeup probably was. So it gets better as the movie goes on.
I think the suit part, like the chest part, looks good. I think his face in HD, especially, you can clearly see all of the lines, where the makeup is. But that's HD. They didn't shoot it for HD. They didn't know that was even going to be a thing. So it's one of those movies that HD wasn't as kind to. But I think the makeup
great from a distance.
Yeah, and I think that the makeup he has on when he is super thin is great. I think he looks incredible. Like towards the end of the movie when he's like emaciated, he looks fucking great.
Yes.
And his acting's really good. The actor for this, Robert John Burke, he's really good in the movie. He's got a great voice.
The voice is so strange to me. I'm not gonna lie. It's like by the end of the movie, I was like, why is he like Batman right now?
That's just how his voice. I don't know why I don't know why he picked that voice to deliver for Billy, but that's kind of his natural timbre, I guess. But yeah, they just decided that this was going to be I'm Jolly Fat Billy.
That's nobody's
Well, I mean, at the
natural
beginning of the
voice.
movie, he's very kind of jolly. You're right, and I feel like his voice does get deeper. His whole demeanor changes, and just he changes throughout the course of this movie. But I feel like at the beginning he's very jolly, and man, the fat jokes and racism in this movie at the beginning is
it's another thing. Yeah, it's did not age well. Not great.
I actually think it worked with the movie because of the retribution that occurs. But
yes, that gives me into criticism that I'll talk about in the movie once we get into those portions. But he's good in it, and he looks great.
He does look good.
So especially at the end, like I said. And so, Billy lives with his family, and he has a wife and a daughter. What do you guys think of these characters, the wife and daughter?
I was so confused. When I saw the daughter, I was like, she looks really familiar. I was like, couldn't put my finger on it. And Jake looked it up, and she's like from One Tree Hill. So I was
yes,
like,
she is.
And I've seen the first season of that. I know a lot of people who love that show. So I'm familiar with it, but I was just like, oh yeah, that's what I remember from for sure.
That's hilarious.
I've never seen an episode of One Tree Hill, but
yeah,
the wife does look familiar, and she's a big fan of spreadsheets, right up my alley.
She does love fucking spreadsheets. You're not wrong. Billy, I have your weight loss spreadsheet here. And she's using it on that ancient ass computer.
That laptop, it looks like a brick.
So, Billy is working for this mob boss.
Yeah, because he's a lawyer.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he is a lawyer, and he is defending this mob boss. Joe Mantegna plays him. His name is Richie the Hammer Ganelli. And they immediately at the beginning of this movie, they make us understand that Richie is definitely guilty of what he's doing, and that Billy knows he's guilty and is getting him off of the charge. And we
Well, he even
immediately
had to lobby his own firm to allow him to take this case.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lobbied the firm to take the case so that way they can get a shitload of money. And he's basically has a mobster in his debt.
Yep.
Because he got him off the hook. And at this point, we're also introduced to like the sheriff character and the judge character, we realize that all of them are corrupt together. They're all corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
All of these people are corrupt people. Because they're bending the law. Billy's bending the rules, and they're all bending the rules. And then we're introduced to the traveling people, aka the gypsies, of the movie. What do you guys think of them?
It seemed
Pretty
fun.
interesting.
Yeah,
I'd hang out with them and get a beer.
yeah. They're like, get him out of my street. I was like, no, show me how you're doing that knife throwing thing. Or shoot
It's
that
kinda
slingshot
weird.
shit.
I think it was super weird how they portrayed the gypsies because it's like,
Totally stereotyped and hardcore.
yeah, it's weird because they were kind of like, oh, they're bad, but they're not bad, but then they're like actually pretty evil. So you're like, I'm kind of confused how I'm supposed to be feeling about these guys because I feel like I should be feeling bad for them, but they're like doing bad things at the same time. Like, it's what they're saying. It's hard to tell, really, but I mean, like,
So-
if they're dogfighting, like, if they're really doing that, then I don't like them, right? Like,
Right.
Are they really doing that? I don't know. They didn't show
Yes.
that. They just said it.
No.
Like, the
Yeah.
racist white people said it. So it's like,
Yeah,
does that
yeah.
make it true? I don't
Really,
know.
the only thing that they did that like looked really bad upon them was they stole from the store. They were stealing.
Right.
But
And
that's not the
cursing
entire
people.
group. That is,
Stephen
Huh?
King caught them red-handed doing it.
yeah, he
And they
did
were
his little
stealing.
cameo.
He says, and they were stealing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he
Stephen
berates
King's
them
cameo.
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's talk about the plot proper. So Billy's celebrating his big victory, and he goes and we already get that he's on a weight loss program, that he can't be eating. His wife is making him lose weight. They make him leave. She makes him leave the restaurant because of this. So then she starts fooling around with him, and starts giving him a blowjob whilst driving, and the older gypsy woman walks out in front of him, and he like just clobbers her, like he destroys her. And we find out later that it was the old man, the old gypsy man. It was his daughter. So like,
Right. How confusing is that?
yeah, when that plot point comes on, I was like, oh, I guess it's just going to show how old this, and mystical this guy is. But I'm like, that's a lot to go into this already. All right.
Well, he's the Gypsy King, and he's supposed to be like 106.
Yes. And so his daughter was in her
He
70s.
looks every bit of his age.
He does. He has some like weird like sore on his nose that we never know what it is.
Yeah.
He just has like some gross open sore on his nose. So Billy, and the sheriff and the judge basically all conspire to get Billy off. I mean, he lies about, that she came out of nowhere, he didn't see her, didn't talk about how he was getting roadhead and wasn't paying attention. The sheriff, says it doesn't look like he was speeding. And the judge says, oh, well, there's nothing to see here, case dismissed. And they all just get him off the hook, no big deal. One less gypsy is what probably the sheriff is thinking, because he's a bastard.
Well, and the judge.
Well, that's what I meant. The judge is a bastard. Yeah. He's like awful. The judge is.
It's funny because they do bring Stephen King's character, he was the drug store clerk or whatever.
Yeah, pharmacist.
The pharmacist.
Is what they're called.
Yeah. Back in the day, they did everything. But so they brought him up, and they're like, oh, uh, they specifically asked him a pointed question. He was like, "Oh, I don't know. I was in the back, but they were stealing." And then they're like, "Okay, get out of here."
Yeah, because
We're not gonna do
their
this all.
Yeah,
narrative.
she was running.
Yeah, the narrative was she was running out into the road, and he saw her instead of her clearly just walking into the road. So they wanted to build this narrative that she ran out in front of him, not that she was clearly walking in the middle of the road and you just didn't see her and smashed into her. So after this trial, this hearing, it's really what it was. It was like a grand jury hearing essentially, but small town version. And they say, he's not liable. The Gypsy King, what's his name? Does he have a name? Yeah, it's Tatsu. So Tatsu goes up to him and touches his face and says, "Thinner." And then walks off, and Billy's just, what?
Question.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it was the commercials, like, for this movie, the previews. I remember him going, "I curse you, thinner." But he doesn't say "I curse you." He just says "thinner."
No, that was definitely a commercial spot, so that way you understood it. Because
Yeah.
I guess you needed that for the commercial instead of just being like, "You're getting thinner." Good work. And Billy completely confused. He's just like, "The hell?" So then, of course, he starts losing all this weight. What do you guys think of this section of the film where he's just losing weight? Because that's a big section. There's just a big portion of this.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, he was.
It
a
gets
heavy
very
guy.
disturbing. It gets so disturbing the way he is like, he realizes he's losing weight really fast, so he starts eating a lot to like counterbalance it.
Mm-hmm.
And he is just like scarfing everything down he can get his hands on, and it is disturbing. And I have a lot to say about the wife in these scenes.
Yes, talk about it. Talk about her.
So she is just like, he at first she's doing this spreadsheet, and she's like, "You're losing weight, but it doesn't look like you're slowing down eating." And he's just like, "I don't know," just blowing it off. And then the next day she's just like gets more and more worried, and she is feeding him this gigantic dinner at their dinner table, where she brings him an entire pie with like extra whipped cream on it for him to eat by himself. What kind of person are you? Just feeding that, like,
and he's like scarfing it out.
Care so much. Yeah, it made his daughter cry. Like, is terrifying everyone, and she's just like feeding into it, and like, just, I don't know. I was just like, I don't even know what to say. I was just like, why is she doing that? And I know like that is a thing that people do in real life. It's like a comfort thing, is like, I'll just feed you. Like, that'll make you comfortable and it'll make all the problems go away. So it's like, it's just interesting that she was just like feeding him this gigantic dinner. And he just couldn't stop.
So also during this time, there's a doctor that he's seeing, Dr. Mike. He calls Dr. Mikey. And it's heavily hinted at that Dr. Mikey and his wife are having an affair. Because she's like, "Oh, I bumped into Dr. Mike. I talked to Dr. Mike. Dr. Mike, Dr. Mike." And Billy's starting to be like, what's up with Dr. Mike? He's starting to get annoyed with this constant Dr. Miking. She's like, "I need you to see him because I think he might have cancer." And before that happens, before the cancer thing, he goes on a golf retreat. He goes golfing with some of his, the judge and everybody.
Yeah.
And the judge has a mark on his chest here. It's like it's starting to like scab over. And he said that the gypsy came up and touched him there. So Billy at this point's already starting to be like, "Oh no, the gypsy touched me and I'm losing all this weight." Yeah, he does that. It's not the best. It could have done a better performance. I don't think I would have kept that take either.
He keeps doing.
Yeah. It's like, hey, remember, touch your face because you're remembering. You see? So that way the audience remembers.
Oh no, my face. I
It's
loved
fine.
it.
It's fine. So yeah, he's starting to, and that's where we see him without a shirt on with that fat suit. But he goes and gets his like test done, and there's nothing wrong with him. They can't find anything wrong with him. He's like, your weight will stabilize. Well, spoiler, it doesn't. And he goes into the a tailor to get his, a new suit because he's grown out, he's losing all the weight and none of his clothes fit him anymore. And he loses like 2 pounds just in the time from the beginning of the day to then. So that's when he realizes, I need to keep eating. And that's what he says to his wife, I'm in a race and I'm losing. No matter how much I eat, I just keep losing.
I thought like the first time seeing that scene where he says he snaps on her and sees that, because he sees the doctor leave their house.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so it shows like a vision of him seeing them like making out in their house or something.
Right.
So he's like, you really see clearly that he is putting it together that they're cheating.
Mm-hmm.
And
so here's the thing.
He snaps on her. But I didn't know if that was real or not. Like I didn't know. Like she genuinely cared and was concerned for him. So like I was like, maybe it's just in his head because he's going through this and he's stressed that maybe he's like imagining, right? And I think that's probably how you're supposed to feel throughout the movie. It's like, is she really cheating? Like,
yeah, you're supposed to wonder, and I think the movie answers it at the end of the movie when Dr. Mike just shows up without any
for sure
reason for being there.
Yes,
just like, he's like a little early for house calls, huh? And he's like, I was just checking on this, and you're like,
yes.
So, how do I phrase it? So it does allude to, and I felt like it was more paranoia on his behalf. Now, you're right at the end. I feel they could have been, or it could have been, it never really definitively says, that maybe Dr. Mike is trying to make a move on his wife. But there's really, the only time that I remember seeing any type of like crossing a boundary is they're like talking about forcing him into this clinic because she's concerned for him, and he's got his hand on her
talk
leg.
about it. They do it. They
also do it.
Yeah, they do it,
But,
and has her hand on his leg.
There's the one scene where he's already gone, and the girl is on the phone with him in the kitchen, his daughter, and the mom comes out of the living room with the doctor, and she's adjusting her belt on her pants. So that was like, for me, I mean, I was like, are they doing this to trick me, or were they cheating? And I think the answer was she was definitely cheating.
And
like,
the daughter also says, Dr. Mike has been here a lot. Yeah, he's been around a lot since you've been gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, just too many things.
It's just the adjusting of her pants as she's coming
very
out of
subtle.
the living room.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like the nail in the coffin for me.
That's for me. For you.
Yeah, for me, it was definitely the end. I was like, oh, yeah, I mean, what the fuck's this guy doing here? He doesn't know Billy's home.
Yeah.
What the fuck's this guy doing here?
But the only other real evidence you have is just that little small detail.
Yep. 70-30.
Like you said, it could have just been him making a move on her, but just her adjusting her pants. I was like, they were definitely just like making out or something in there.
Fooling around.
They were doing something.
Yeah, they're definitely doing something that's not on the up and up. Well, I mean, like by committing him is definitely not on the up and up. But so he goes to this clinic. He goes to this clinic to see if they can help him, and they don't. He just keeps losing weight, and he just finally like, I'm out of here. I'm done.
Yeah.
So
where are you going? Takeout.
Yeah, and then he goes and visits. So throughout the movie, he goes to this bar and he realizes that the judge isn't around, that the wife's eating by herself. So there's a scene where he goes and confronts her to see where the judge is, because Dr. Mike again is shady. He says, "Oh yeah, he's visiting his sister who had a car accident." He's like, the judge doesn't have a sister. Well, maybe it's her sister. I don't know. He's just not in town. And so he's already suspicious. And then he talks to her and he says, did the gypsy touch you? Or did the gypsy touch him? And he's like, come on in. You're going to need this. Hands him a drink and then tells him that he's turning into a lizard.
Yes.
Which is such a fucking wild thing.
Yes.
Of all things, I'm like, what? Lizard. Like, that's what you thought of for this guy? All right. Sure.
So, real
pretty
quick,
rough,
'cause
though.
I don't know that it specifically says, but knowing what he looks like at the end of the movie, what do you think that they said to him?
He said lizard. That's what the woman says.
Are you talking about the other guy?
No, I'm
The
talking about
judge.
the judge. The
Yes,
judge.
The judge is
is-
the lizard. But so what happens to the other guy who he finds out the other one was cursed too?
Oh,
We don't get his curse.
Oh yeah, we don't know what is wrong with him. He just did he walk up to him and say, "Pull your face"? Like, I don't know.
Right?
Yeah, because he
Like,
visits
what
the
did he
sheriff, and
say?
the sheriff is all like fucked up looking. Like he like has like I don't know
I'll look it up.
what's wrong with
I think
his
he was
hand.
turning into a pig.
Maybe
I'm
that's
not-
what it is. Maybe that's what it is.
Oh,
That would
you're
make
probably
sense, Derek.
right.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Because
See if
his
we can
nose kind of has that.
Yeah, but what's with like the
It
open
was his
sores and
hand.
boils?
His hand looked like it was
Okay, so
forming into a hook.
he just has it says that he develops ulcers on his face and hands. Goddamn hands. But it says he develops ulcers on his hands and face. So I just didn't quite know. I thought it was like he's just turning into some kind of, because there's open sores on his face and shit, and like blisters on him. I don't know what he said to
I
him.
curse you, ugly.
Yeah, I guess because he's
That's
like
probably a terrible thing.
Ugly.
because he turned because the sheriff is getting turned into this whacked out thing, and basically the sheriff tries to give him a gun and tell him to go kill the old man. Kill him. And he's like, I can't. He's the only one that can remove the curse. Because this scene bothers the absolute hell out of me, but here it is. He calls Richie for some reason and asks him if he knows anything about gypsy curses, because you know who knows a lot about gypsy curses? Mob bosses. So he calls Richie, and Richie's like, oh, I don't believe in that mumbo jumbo, but my mom does. And he asks her, and he's like, my mom says the only ones that can remove the curse is the person that put it on. So that has to be true. So,
I mean, that's the best lead he's got.
Right.
yeah, I guess. But it's like, just the fact, I don't know. I don't love how that plays out. But so he's on a quest to track them down and find them. So he goes AWOL. And he has this weird dream. Let's talk about this dream, guys, that he has. So in this dream, he goes to the carnival and sees them. And then he they call him out because the old man is like guessing weights. And then he guesses Billy's weight and says, oh, but you're going to be down to this and then down to this. It's very big. It's very OTT. And his granddaughter pulls out a doll that's hanging on the side there of him with his like gross skeleton face, and jumps down and goes and starts chasing him around with a slingshot. That's when the judge shows up with this like skin falling off of his face, and
His
he's
scaly
like,
face.
yeah, and he's like, I'm saving your life. And he tries to escape from the car, and one end is Tatsu coming after him in a semi, and then he's in a school bus on the other end, and they hit him and he wakes up. What do you guys think of this dream sequence?
It's pretty freaky. We were like,
the dolls looked really cool.
Yeah,
I
the
thought
dolls
they
were
did.
cool.
yeah. I was like, by the end of, like, I don't know. I have such weird dreams, and I know we already talked about this, but by the end of it, I was like, that's totally a dream out. It's like some weird, just trippy stuff that you don't want to be seeing in your sleep, you know? Where you just wake up, just horrified.
I didn't know it was a dream until I saw the Gypsy King in the truck. And I was like, there's no way he could have gotten there. This has to be a dream.
See, I thought it was a dream almost at the beginning of the sequence, pretty much, because of how the acting is over the top anyway, but it was over the top. And I was like,
yeah,
man, this is kind of cringe over the top. It has to be purposeful. And it was. It's because it was a big dream sequence. And there's just stuff that wasn't making a lot of sense, like him, her just jumping down and being like, ah! I was like, that's a odd choice. That's weird. So yeah, he eventually tracks them down. Oh, there's this little scene I want to talk about real fast. He goes to this weird little guy and asks him where the basically tracking him down. The
scene in the
gypsy
bar?
people. No, it's where he goes to like the guy, and the guy says that he can tell them where he was because they were running from that area, and he can tell him where he's moving. The gypsies are moving to next, but he needs $800.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And he's like, that's not for the information. That information is free. It's so I don't tell your wife where you are. And he pulls out a thing, and they have a $5,000 reward on him. Now, let me call a timeout here.
Yeah.
He charges him $800 instead of turning the guy in for $5,000.
It's a little bit of a difference.
Hey, he's got standards, man.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
gonna see that
clearly.
guy.
He's blackmailing the guy. Clearly has standards.
I just love that he takes traveler's checks.
Do you take traveler's checks? He says in his action movie voice.
No, you're right. That is quite the compromise.
Yeah, it is. I almost expected him to say at one point, Billy. I almost expected Billy to say, "Where are the dirt natives? They won't give it to an ordinary citizen." It's a Batman joke for you guys.
I got it.
I know you did. So Billy finally tracks him down and has a confrontation with the gypsies and himself. And he tells him to take the curse off. They tell him no. He tries being mean and telling him to do it. Then he finally breaks down, gets on his knees, holds his hand, apologizes, and says he's sorry and he was wrong and take it off. And he says he can't because it's justice, gypsy justice, because they took his daughter away from him and they didn't pay the price. So he says, they call him white man from town. And he says that he's putting the curse on them, the curse of the white man from town. And they all laugh at him. He starts to do the thing that the gypsy does, and the granddaughter, shoots him with a slingshot right in the hand.
With a ball bearing.
So yeah. So he starts squeezing the blood like the
straight through
gypsy did. Yeah, straight through. So he says, "I curse you," and then he leaves, and he's at the hotel, and he has lost 17 gallons of blood, apparently. There's so much blood that he loses here. So he calls Richie, who sends a vet, essentially. I think is what it is. He's a vet. He's like, he's not a doctor, but he's close enough. And all this guy does is bandage it up, which he had already done. But
Right.
He gave him medicine.
yeah, gave him medicine, which doesn't help with the pain, just makes his heart not stop.
It sounds like a good trade-off.
There's a cool shot where you can see straight through his hand. That's
Uh,
pretty cool.
yeah.
What do you guys think of
Had a
this
dream
whole
like that
bit?
before.
So when they called him White Man from Town, my mind went to Noxu Cow, White
Yeah.
Warrior. But anyway.
Yeah,
It was a
or
movie.
what is it? Ace Ventura. What is that one? White Devil.
Quinchu Orcha.
Quinchu Orcha. That's it. Quinchu Orcha. White Devil. White Devil.
Let me guess. White Devil, White Devil?
Yeah. Bumblebee tuna.
Classic.
Your balls are showing. Bumblebee tuna.
I mean, I will
Ace
say
Ventura
it's,
2 is one of the best sequels. It's a great one.
it is a
Great,
good sequel.
Great movie. Yes.
It takes a lot of humility to do what he did. I mean, he's dying, and if he doesn't go and try and plead his case,
So
that's where he's
you
going to
see-
end up. But
You see humility. I don't see humility. I don't think he's sorry. I think he's
he's desperate.
desperate. He's desperate. Yeah. I don't see humility at all because
That's totally fair.
this guy doesn't learn any lesson.
Oh no,
So that's not humility. It's him
you're right.
at the end of his rope.
Yeah.
So Billy and him hatch this plan essentially that they're going to curse them as the white man from town. So this next section of the movie is kind of fucking weird because we get these like ambush scenes essentially. It becomes like a mob drama for a few minutes here. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he's poisoning the dogs and putting white man from town says take it off, and then he hires this informant to watch them, and then the informant doesn't work out, so they end up killing the informant.
Mhm.
So he again he goes and shoots up the place, and so this shoot up scene is crazy, right? Not the only one that thinks this is crazy, right?
It's so crazy. I did not expect. I never would have thought that would be in this movie.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. He goes with a fucking machine gun by himself, knocks out a dude, takes his mouth shut, just starts shooting up the gypsy camp like he's in fucking From Russia with Love, and starts shooting up this gypsy camp, and then they start shooting back at him. They can't hit the brass side of the barn. And then he puts a note, white man from town says, take it off, puts it in the guy's shirt, throws him over the wall, and they blindly just start shooting at this guy. And it's pretty well lit. So why did they, I don't know why they did this. They blow her husband away, the granddaughter's husband away, is who it is. They kill him.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
Which was so upsetting. Oh,
yes. And she's
That
like
was-
infuriated.
Oh my gosh. Like, that was so upsetting to me.
So
I was
then-
just like, Jesus, like, how? That is just in this movie now? Like, what the?
Yeah. And then it gets even
Was it-
weirder and wilder.
It's a great strategy.
It is, but it gets weirder and wilder because then Richie shows up as an FBI agent, just walking around amongst the police.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
As
know
you do.
that part threw me off.
As you do when you're a known mobster. These police officers don't know you? Okay. So, roaming around with, you see, they didn't recognize it because he had the Clark Kent disguise, huh?
Mhm.
Put on his glasses. They're like, don't know who that guy is.
To be fair, they're probably in a different, like,
They
state
probably
or-
are. But this guy
or
sounds like
state.
he's like a big deal. So who knows?
But somebody would have asked him for credentials, somebody of
He-
authority.
He had credentials. Remember, he showed it to her. FBI
Oh, yeah.
showed her his badge. And then, but here's what I don't get. He's like, we have him in custody. Come to me to this fucking shady ass barn.
Well, as they're walking into the barn, he's like, "Oh, I've got him in this car." Why would the car be in the barn? Why would he be in a car in the barn?
Why would he take her by himself? Why would she not be escorted? Why would he not be on the scene? Any of that. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So he's like, no, it wasn't him, but I think it was somebody. He hired somebody to do it. And he's like, oh, I want to show you the picture of him. And he pulls out a picture of himself. You're like,
His
oh,
mugshot.
Yeah.
His own
And like,
mugshot that he just carries around with him.
just for this, he's like, I carry this around so I can surprise people when I pretend to be an FBI guy.
Right.
So he pulls his, so he throws this stuff in her face, says it's acid. He's like, and this is just, he said, you got soda pop and baking soda. You're like, oh my God. So then he knocks her down and says, this is the real thing. And pours acid down and then sits it on her forehead and says, if you don't want to have to wear a scarf for the rest of your life all over your face, you'll tell the old man to meet me. Blah, blah. And he takes Billy, who is by this point emaciated, takes him, and they drive off. And she's like, with this glass on her head, and she's just like, what do I do? So guys, what would you do?
She went like this to get it off, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. And then she's like,
grab it.
She goes, oh. I mean, you could have also just went like that because it's like the opposite way.
Yeah.
All right. But so
you gotta do it carefully because you don't want any backsplash on your face.
Absolutely. But here's what I don't understand. They get her back. So I guess no more drama comes after it. They are like, yeah, we'll end this war. But it's like she's back in your safety. I mean, if you just close your ranks, he's not going to get you. He can't. You know what he looks like now. You know he's coming for you. Close your ranks. Have police officers there. Whatever you got to do. But he decides, okay, I'll take the curse off of you. And it makes more sense in the movie than it does the book. Because in the book, Richie dies. Richie is killed. They find out that they find Richie's hand or something like that. So he's dead. He's murdered by the gypsies. So then they would have had no reason to remove the curse. Not really, right? I mean, that guy's dead. I mean, we know Billy's going to be dead in a couple days, it seems like, because of how much he's losing weight. So, what do you guys think of this meeting at the park? Or at the lighthouse between the two? And the removal of the curse. What do you think of this?
It was interesting. I kind of immediately knew that this was going to be kind of like a be careful what you wish for situation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I was just like, oh man, this is not good. Like it's just like doomed. Like he's just doomed, really.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells him, he's like, you should just take. First of all, the pie is such a creepy effect.
Yeah, how bubbles and shit.
Yeah, like the blood, like he's pouring blood from his hand into
the pie.
The pie, and the pie kind of like eats it up, which is just creepy, real creepy. And he's like, you should probably just eat that pie yourself, unless you have someone you hate.
And die clean. He says you should eat yourself and die clean. You'll die, but you'll die clean. And he's like, our business is done here. What are the drugs?
Yeah.
What do you think, Derek?
The pie is definitely. I would not eat that pie, for sure. Especially when it starts moving.
You wouldn't die clean.
No, I would not die clean.
No.
But so you have a feeling based on the way that he says it to the guy, like, you should. He knows what's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And after all, he just cursed this guy, so
he knows he's not a good guy.
Slight idea of what's going to happen.
He says it'll be fast too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it does. It is fast, but there's definitely some hardcore foreshadowing as to what's about to happen.
I mean, immediately when he gives it the pie and he says, "I'm putting the curse onto this pie. You have to pass this curse on. You have a few days. It'll slow down the thinning, but you have a few days to pass this curse onto someone you hate. You have to pass it on to somebody else. Has to eat this pie, or else you're doomed. Essentially, you'll die anyway. But if you eat the pie, it'll be quick and you'll die clean. So we know immediately what he's thinking and who he's going to give the pie to, like instantly, right?
Right.
No, I thought he was going to
His
drop
wife.
it off at a homeless shelter or something.
Oh my god!
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I knew, not only because I've seen the movie, but
Yeah, it's obvious.
So, do you feel like his let's just separate the affair portion.
Mhm.
His targeted feelings towards his wife and like her part in all of this. Do you feel like it's a little misguided?
I feel like it's 100% misguided.
Okay, good.
I mean,
good.
Yeah, 100% misguided. He blames her for this accident, solely her.
Yeah.
Because she was giving him a blowjob. I mean, he didn't turn it away. He's the one that decided to close his eyes while it happened. I mean, I can do it with my eyes open. Just saying.
I thought about going into a story, but I decided not to.
But it's like, yeah, he blames her completely, and also she didn't have any part in the blame. Is also where part of it is. Like, he gets cursed. He's the one that was in trouble with the law initially.
She's not involved in the corruption.
So he thinks that she is getting away scot-free, but the gypsies weren't pissed. Didn't curse him just because he hit the daughter. If it was an accident, it was an accident. They cursed him because he cheated the system to get off scot-free and serve no punishment for it.
Yeah.
And it was almost like her life didn't matter. Because to them, it didn't.
Right, exactly. That's exactly the frustrating part of this,
This movie is
it
a
was
really...
an accident.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's all. It just was. It was an accident. Like, I mean,
It was an accident, but there was negligence on his part. So
Yes.
he should have faced the consequences for that. But he used his status and power to avoid those consequences. And these people, these marginalized people, got nothing. They didn't get any justice, not a second mention, nothing. It's like they never even existed.
Well, they were second-class citizens.
Absolutely. I mean, the mayor says some pretty racist, terrible stuff about him.
Yeah.
Or not the mayor, the judge. I mean, the judge says some really terrible stuff about him.
I will say this. This movie is a really good display of social inequality and like what corruption does look like. I thought it was, right on the money.
So, with this misguided hate that he has for his wife, he decides, like we all do, you know what? Instead of getting a divorce, I'm going to just murder her with this pie. So that way he's a murderer now. On top of accidentally killing that woman and being corrupt, he's also now a murderer. So he comes home and he tells her, I got something for you, blah, blah. It's okay about Dr. Mike. I believe you. And then says some like weird line. What's that line he says as he's going upstairs? Something about getting even. And it's really weird. I don't know.
Well, he calls her the B word.
Yeah, he definitely says that, but he's like something like, and that's getting even, bitch, or something like that. Something weird. Like, what? All right. So when he wakes up and she's dead, her face looks gross and everything. It's a good effect, but he fucking kisses. It's so gross. He kisses the corpse and it makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. I think like they kind of, because he must have at some point gone mad. I think it just kind of didn't show us. I mean, it kind of did, but like I think he's gone mad, like to the point where he's come to the conclusion that he's going to kill his wife, and he just doesn't care about the consequences of anything at this point. Like, nothing matters. He's got nothing to lose, kind of thing. And he keeps forgetting that he like has a daughter that loves him and cares about him, and he's just
and
kind
a
of
wife
being
that
really
does
selfish.
too. Really?
Yeah, and so it only really shows you that how mad he is after he kisses the mutated corpse that's laying next to him in bed.
Yeah,
that is so disgusting and messed up, and like you don't think, because he's our main character, we're kind of like still rooting for him even though he's made so many terrible choices, but you're like, come on, dude, just make a right choice for once, and he just doesn't.
Yeah. So what were you going to say, Derek? I agree 100%, Lydia. Yeah.
I think his arc in this movie was well done by the actor, because he starts out like we had mentioned, he was like kind of happy-go-lucky. He was like, what's a good way to describe this? So he was corrupt, right? But he was he had the face of somebody who was, a nice citizen and things like that. But like, as this story progresses, all that shine that he had gets worn down until the only thing you see is like who he truly was, right?
Yeah, so I see that as less of an arc. It's not necessarily an arc because he starts bad and stays bad. It's not like he's not Walter White who breaks bad, He's corrupt and then becomes worse, basically, as it goes.
It's weird because it's almost like hyper realistic character of like this guy who's like part of the community and has a family, and he's a nice guy and everybody loves him, and you're like, oh, he's just fine, he's just part of life, whatever. But like, he is corrupt, but like nobody cares.
Yeah.
So he's just a good guy in a corrupt world.
It's almost like he could run for office.
Exactly.
To be honest,
he's just a corrupt guy that's a good guy in a corrupt world. He's just part of the system, really.
Yeah. So
he's not a leader. He's not a leader in this system. He's a follower in the system who's just trying to make his way. It's just on two sides of the fence of where you're sitting, kind of.
And to Jamie's point, like him running for office, he attacks this very politically because he's trying to align himself correctly, because he's already aligned with the people who are in power from like the like establishment perspective. But then he also, whenever he lobbies to take that case with the mobster, he's now trying to align himself with power for the underbelly of society. So, I mean, he's definitely trying to position himself politically.
Yeah, to set himself up, yeah.
His poor family, all of their families, all three of the people's families are the victims here.
Four. Because the Gypsy's family.
Right, exactly.
They lose two members.
Yep. And the poor wife of the judge is just heartbreaking. She is just, what is she gonna do? Like, she had no choice in the matter. She just like loses her whole family. They all lose their family.
Well, she decided to
scandal
marry that weird geriatric judge.
Well, not necessarily weird and geriatric, but like that guy, like from the get-go, you knew who he was. Like, he let you know right away.
Well, yeah.
Chose to stay with him.
Let me tell you, this is the type of guy that would leave the beaches open in Amity Island if there was a shark attack. That's how I feel about this guy. Like, he's the fucking mayor from Jaws. That's how I feel about this guy. This judge. I'm like, immediately don't like him. Immediately awful person. He's like, did the gypsy say anything to you when he touched you? Well, he said something, but I wasn't paying attention. I was worried about what diseases I was going to catch from just him being near me. But yeah, it's so let's get to the ending, guys. Let's talk about this ending. He goes downstairs and looks into the dishes into the sink, and he sees that there are 2 plates of pie, because he told his wife or his daughter to stay over at a friend's house. Well, she did not. He didn't check this when he got home for some reason, and didn't dispose of this pie or put it up somewhere so nobody else would eat it without him knowing, because he's an idiot. So she eats the pie, so he knows that she's going to die now. So he sits down, he grabs a piece of the pie, and he's going to finally eat it to kill himself, because he killed his daughter. He has nothing else to live for. And then Dr. Mike walks in, and he's like, won't you come on in? And we get this really over-the-top hokey, you're really going to like it kind of like bit.
Yes.
As he's shutting the door. Yes.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this ending?
His voice goes full Batman at this point. It is so hokey. It's like, it's such a weird, good ending that, like, it's you're heartbroken. You see the girl, she comes in and hugs him and loves him and then leaves, and you're like, no, like, that's it for her. And then, like, the doctor comes in and you're like, well, let's at least kill this guy too. You know, like, were you guys rooting for him to eat the pie? Because I was.
Yeah, I was.
So,
which is horrible. It's horrible, but it's so fun.
I wasn't, for the sake of his character, but his character's already irredeemable. So, you know, it's like he's done. He's irredeemable. He's killed his wife purposely, accidentally killed his daughter, has ran over a gypsy, is responsible for the deaths of multiple people at this point. Yeah, I mean, just not the best. He's not the best of guys. So why not? I mean, this doctor's not the best guy either. Let's just kill off the entire principal cast. At least Stephen King's pharmacist is still floating around out there, accusing people of theft. So he's still out there. I mean, it's a great ending as far as his daughter eating the pie as well. It's a great little, like, cuts through it, and it's like irredeemable, like, you know, like you said, be careful what you wish for kind of thing. If he would have eaten it himself, his daughter would live, and his family would live. But, you know, him refusing to accept his fate, and that's what the whole movie's about, I feel like, is him refusing to accept the consequences for his actions.
Yes.
Now he's, you know, doomed, and he's doomed everybody else in his path. Yeah.
I was like, by the end of it, I was like, what was the lesson of this movie? And I was like, die clean.
Yeah, die clean.
You gotta accept it and not, you know.
That's not what I got from this movie.
You can't just take everybody out because of something that you did that you're trying to get out of. You know, like, I mean, that's exactly what I took.
It's like, accept responsibility.
Have a clear conscience when you go, you know.
What did you take from it, Derek? Don't
close your eyes.
Yeah.
Don't close your eyes.
Keep them open, man.
Good. Yeah.
Keep them open.
Derek's like, stay corrupt. Keep your eyes open.
No, if he kept his eyes open, he wouldn't have hit the woman. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. Yeah, you have to take responsibility for your actions, because the whole time he's trying to, like, skirt around it.
Weasel his way out, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was Stephen King's Thinner. So let's talk about pluses and minuses, and let's give our reviews. Let's start with you, Lydia. What do you pluses and minuses, and what do you rate Stephen King's Thinner?
I did not even think about the rating for this. I was not prepared. I do like this movie. I thought it was fun. It's weird because it must be a nostalgia thing for the time that it was filmed, because that's just a vibe that I like, for one. And then I don't know. I think it could have been scarier.
I 100% agree. I don't think it's scary at all. That's my biggest
No.
complaint with it. I don't think it's scary at all.
Yeah.
The dream
It's just
sequence
kind of
that's supposed to
funny.
be scary is just hokey. I'm just like, come on, give us some genuine thrills.
Yes.
That's
Like
my biggest complaint.
imagine this movie remade today, you know, with actual scary stuff.
With
happening.
scares. With scares.
With scares and suspense and like, which I don't know. I think that is what makes this movie as enjoyable as it is that it's just like a hokey fun horror movie. You know, it's just like it's a curse thriller, you know, like I don't it's hard to there's not many movies like this, I don't think.
There's some black
Especially
comedy
today.
elements to it. There's some black comedy elements to it as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. And I really like the acting in this movie. I think everyone did great.
Yeah, I think
mean,
it's strong.
Even like the weird voice choice or whatever, you know, like every little thing just kind of like works for some reason. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna give this movie. I want to give this movie like a 7.5. It's high for me. I
Wow,
enjoyed
that's
it. I
high.
had fun.
That's high. Yeah.
Yeah. I would
Derek,
recommend people watch it because I thought it was good.
what are your thoughts?
I think the highlight of the movie was the acting. I thought that everybody was pretty well cast. Let's see. The plot was kind of I don't know if it was weak, but it wasn't as strong as it could have been, and I don't know how faithful it was to
It's fairly faithful to the book.
the book.
It's
Is
fairly
it?
faithful.
Okay.
Yeah. I looked that up earlier before we did the podcast, and the beats are really the same. At least the beats are similar. I don't know about the tone. The tone might be different when you read it, but the beats are pretty similar.
I do think that it's the curse is kind of interesting. The fact that he's fat and he curses him thinner. I would have cursed him fatter, I guess. Because like he's trying to lose, well, he's actually not trying to lose weight. He pretends to his wife like he's trying to lose weight, but he's actually not. He's like from the point he leaves the house and the point he gets back, he's like shoving stuff in his mouth.
There's a scene real quick. There's a scene when we first meet the gypsies in the square that he's eating Doritos from a little Dorito bag, and it's the old school white Dorito bag. You guys remember those?
Oh yeah.
No.
I saw it and got
I noticed that too.
Got a nostalgia hit. I was like, oh my God, do you remember the white Dorito bags? It was the white and blue or white and red, depending on if you got Cool Ranch or nacho cheese. Classic.
So I don't remember that one. No, you're fine. But yeah, you know, he gets what he deserves in the end. He is excuse me. But he's corrupt at the beginning, and then he just, you know, he gets vengeful, and he's got a lot of spite, and he's just not a nice person by the end of it. I do feel the only person I feel bad for, really, is the daughter. She's just the most innocent.
Completely
person in
innocent.
this.
Yeah, completely innocent.
Yeah. So, and my rating, I'm gonna give this. I did enjoy the movie. I thought it was a pretty decent movie. It was fairly solid, but I'm gonna give it a 6. Because it could have been better. Missed opportunities.
Yeah, I'm what?
Last week, I gave the movie a 6, and Derek gave it a 7.5.
Yeah.
We switched.
I'm with Derek on this one. I agree. There's stuff in this movie I like. The performances are good, if sometimes a little big, but I mean he is acting through a fat suit. Through a good chunk of it and through makeup. So he's doing a really good job. My biggest problem with the movie, and it's not necessarily always a bad thing, but there's no characters to root for. I mean, there's no redeemable characters in this thing. There's nobody that you're, I think that's why it's not scary, right? I think that's part of why it's not scary, because you don't really care if something bad happens to this guy because he kind of deserves it. Whereas if this was happening to, like, say, somebody, Judd Crandall, we'd be terrified. We want Judd to be okay. You know what I mean? Or if it's somebody, you know, that we care about. So since he's already mean, and he's already well, not mean, but he's already corrupt, and all this stuff's going on, it kind of makes it to where there's nobody to root for. I think is one of my biggest, which is not a bad thing for all movies, but I think it's detrimental to horror movies, because then you lose your audience surrogate, and with that audience surrogate is where you want to. That's why you're afraid, because you don't want something to happen to this person. And I agree. I agree that there's some missed opportunity, Derek. I think the plot is good. I saw it. I think it's a really cool idea. If he did make him fatter, though, would he turn into like Weird Al from the Fat video? Would he just
Maybe
just keep growing? But I think that it could be. I think my biggest complaint is that it's just not scary enough, and that there's no likable characters. So I'm gonna go with you, Derek, and give it a 6. I don't hate the movie or anything, but when I watched it, I was like, yeah, I remember this being a little more exciting and scarier, and that's just what it's because of that middle section where he's losing the weight and stuff, which is fine because we need to see him lose that weight. But there's a whole section where really it's just scene after scene of him being like, oh, I'm getting thinner. I mean, I guess that is the name of the movie. So he's just like, up, thinner again. Still getting thin. Like, we get it, movie.
That's what I said to Jake. I was like, this movie would never get made today, because that's just such a, it's like simple thing, you know, like it's like there's nothing to it. It's just like, oh, the guy gets thinner. Like, nobody is gonna go watch that movie today, you know.
Yeah, I think it's a cool idea. Like, I think, like I said, I think he looks great at the end. Yeah. When he's all emaciated, and that's disturbing. When he's at the the lighthouse, and he's just like, and he pulls his eyelid up, and he's like, "Wake up, wake up!" It's like he's probably hoping, man, I hope he's dead, because then I don't have to do anything.
We would have just waited a little bit longer.
He really could have. He really could have.
You know, I'll throw this in there because I feel like it could have changed his, to have given him an arc, I guess, put it that way. If in the beginning he was forced to take that guy as a client, and then like he was given this evidence from the detective agency that he knew would clear him, but he had a guilty conscience about it, like,
yes, that would have changed things dramatically. There's nothing wrong with taking the evidence from the detective agency to clear him. That's all legal. But it's the fact that he pretends like he believes him to be innocent, and that you know but he knows he knows he's corrupt. He knows he's guilty. And I mean, that's a defense lawyer's job. But it's the way he goes about it predatorily is what makes him seem unlikable from the beginning.
Yeah. And even like after the accident, if like he would have had like, you know, remorse and have a discussion with his wife, but then like the elders of the community, the police officer and the judge, like pull him aside and be like, hey, we're going to get you off on this, blah blah blah. But like, you know, have him display some sort of
be conflicted morality. About it. If he was conflicted about it, like I feel really, even if it was just a scene of him saying, I really feel guilty about this, you know, I'm heartbroken about it, or you see that on him or anything.
He actually does when the guy is like attacking the girl, the guy and the girl, you know who I'm talking about.
Clearly.
In the barn?
Yes, in the barn.
Yes.
Richie is attacking Gina.
Yeah,
Her name.
the granddaughter. Yeah.
Yes, the granddaughter. He's telling him to stop. Billy is like, stop. Like, we're done. This is over. I don't want
at
to
this
go
point,
on with this.
there is a point where
Doesn't
he
want her to be
almost
attacked.
there's a point where he almost redeems himself because he almost decides, I'm just gonna take this responsibility and I don't want anybody else hurt. But instead he goes along with it. He's so close.
He's just gone mad.
Yeah, he's so close. He's so close to getting it. But he doesn't. And then and of course you have the will to survive. Of course, you want to survive. But he does show restraint there, telling him that he doesn't want anybody else hurt. But they didn't do enough to develop him showing remorse for the initial accident. And I think that would have went a long way towards his character, like you said, Derek. That would have went a long way, and so would the showing him conflicted about these other things. It would have made him a more complex character. Instead of just being like, taking the day off.
Right. Yeah.
That's what he says. Taking the afternoon off.
That coin scene.
The apology scene, like the
coin scene, the guy says that, give her a quarter and she'll lift up her skirt or whatever, and she like hears her from clear across and he's like, what, you think she heard you? And then she
definitely heard that.
Pulls out a coin and pulls up her dress and then gives him the finger. Like, I heard you.
That was an interesting scene. Yeah.
It was kind of a weird scene, yeah.
Yeah. Very strange.
It would have made more sense if she like pulled it up to her knee and then dropped it and give him the finger, as opposed to like.
Well, hey, listen.
Him.
They needed to show some kind of sensuality in this movie because
right.
The only skin we saw was a bunch of saggy old dudes in the shower.
Oh man!
Nobody want that.
Nope.
And one of them had like a gross thing on their fucking chest growing out of it. So.
Right.
It's like,
true.
So what was your rating, Jamie?
A 6, like Derek. 6, 6, 7. What was mine last week? I think I gave it a 7, 7.5. I really like
you gave
Bullet.
7.
It was a 7.
7. Yeah, it's a good one.
Lydia, you gave Silver Bullet a 6?
Yes, she did.
I thought you gave it a 7.5, and I gave it a 6.
No, you gave it a 7, Derek. 7.5. You gave this one a 6, and she gave it a 7.5. You guys flip-flopped. So,
flippy-floppity.
Guys, it's time for other favorite segment on the show. Let's Atkinize Thinner.
Thrill me.
Who would Tom Atkins play in Thinner to improve it? Besides everyone. But who would we want to see him as?
The cop?
Do not say the cop. Jesus criminy. Guys,
he would have been
Dr.
a really
Mike.
good Richie.
He would have been. Or Dr. Mike.
Oh, Doctor, yes. Exactly.
Because then we could totally see the affair happening.
Yes, it would make so much more sense.
You cannot deny that. Also, we'd be rooting against Billy at the end for sure. We'd be like,
oh, yeah.
Tom Atkins isn't going to eat that pie. He's already eaten your pie, if you know what I'm saying.
Yep, I think he'd be the Doctor for sure.
Dr. Mike, what do you think, Derek?
I think he would have been a good Richie.
Yeah.
A mobster.
Yeah. I'm going with Dr. Mike. Lydia?
Yep.
Dr. Mike?
Yep.
All right. Derek. Buddy, it's your turn to pick next week's movie.
It's Lydia's turn.
Is it? It says Derek picks next. Oh.
That's wrong, because I picked Silver Bullet.
That's right. You pick Silver Bullet. It's your turn. What are we watching, Lydia?
Okay, so before I tell you guys, I just want to say that I do have something that I found that says and I found this on IMDb, that Chief Hopley,
Yeah, Hopley. Yep.
so he's like the third one that was cursed.
Yes.
It says that in the book, he was afflicted with horrible acne, a skin condition he also suffered as a teenager. Consequently, viewers have suggested that Tadzu may have said something like boils, blisters, sores, or leper.
Okay, so
there's the answer to that.
It's one of those things that we really, watching the movie, there's no way of knowing that because we're not privy to that information.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of those unclear things.
So
okay.
Someone's just assuming that it might have been something like that.
That makes sense. That makes sense if that's what it is in the book. And I would assume, because the book is, like I said, fairly faithful. The movie's fairly faithful to the book. So they probably were like, oh yeah, he just has the boils. And they might have even filmed a scene where that was mentioned, but just didn't make the final cut. So now we're just left with this, what the fuck's wrong with this guy?
Whatever happened to him? Which is kind of an interesting choice, you know. It's like
yeah.
Just leaving it.
What's he
for
inflicted?
Everyone to discuss. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I love that idea. Okay, so guys, I've thought about this, and I'm gonna do something that I've never done before.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
What's that?
I'm going to choose a movie that I have not seen.
Oh, yes,
That's
I've done it
better.
once. Yep. What is it?
It is, drumroll, Phantasm 2.
Oh, Phantasm 2. All right.
I want to see it, guys. I gotta see it.
All right.
That's the good one, man.
That's a good one.
I said
we're
that's
not
the
gonna say
good
more.
one.
Not gonna say more until we watch it.
Okay.
And review it. But I'm very excited to do Phantasm 2.
Cool.
You enjoyed Phantasm, so
that's why I'm like, somebody's got to pick the second one.
Yeah.
Good for you, Lydia.
For sure, that's a great choice. It's a great choice. And did you see where we can find Phantasm 2?
No, I'm hoping it's somewhere.
I think it is. Well, let's see. You can find it on Amazon Prime. You have to rent it on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, YouTube, Google Play, or Vudu. The other Phantasm movies, 1, 3, 4, and 5, are all streaming on Shudder and Peacock. So Phantasm 2, great. Can't wait to watch it. All right, guys. Is there anything else you want to discuss before we sign off? We will be watch the page in the future. We're in the next couple days, or maybe by the time this airs, we'll have dropped the Q&A video onto the YouTube channel. Keep listening to the channel and keep looking at the Facebook page for updates on when we will general release for this guy behind me. And once that's announced, we'll also announce when we're doing our special behind the scenes episode on it. T-shirt designs are available at HiLaProductions.com, as well as we're taking orders for posters. So if you want posters, T-shirts, ideas for more merch, let us know. Comment down below on what movies you want us to do in the future. If you have any suggestions, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Keep the channel growing. It's getting bigger and bigger each day, so thank you for that. Let's keep growing it. You can follow us on social media, like I said, on Facebook at HiLa Productions. You can follow us on Instagram at Screen Bloody Movies. You can follow Lydia on Twitter at Lydia is Spooky. Follow Derek on Twitter at DDogLeeMaster. And you can follow me at Twitter at Racket. So be sure to reach out to us on social media if you please. just like, share, and comment, guys. Let's keep on going. If there's nothing else for Derek Lemaster and Lydia Judy, I'm Jamie Hiles. Remember, if you're going to scream, screenplay movies. Good night.